Good evening. Uh, Thank you for joining me at this restaurant that is also a bookstore, which combines two things that I love, books and food. But I have to admit, by the way, my name is Greg Silber, and I have to admit, I'm short. I'm a little nervous about speaking in front of all of you today. Writing this speech was a challenge to me. As someone that considers himself a writer, I like to think that I'm at least decent at it, but I'm not much of a speaker. I'm pretty awkward in general, and because my tongue protrudes a little when I try to make an S sound, sometimes it's hard for people to take me seriously. It makes me feel like Howard the Duck, the titular character of a satirical comic book that began in the late 70s by writer Steve Gerber, about a talking duck from outer space. Judging from the title, you may assume that's a slapstick childish comedy in the vein of Daffy Duck or Donald Duck. But Gerber once wrote that the joke of Howard the Duck is that there is no joke. Howard may be abrasive, but he often says intelligent, insightful things about humanity and the world. Unfortunately, there are times that no matter what he says, he only receives this response. But you're a duck. Like Howard, I felt out of place from the beginning of my time working as a writing enrichment specialist at Joanne Lellick Elementary School at Broad Acres. Like a duck among humans. I was a 23-year-old, monolingual, white, middle-class, Jewish comic book devotee and struggling writer from New Jersey that wasn't technically a teacher, teaching at a school where most of the kids, predominantly Latino or black, were economically disadvantaged. It's a Title I school where 90% of the kids receive free or reduced lunches. It didn't help that my role was not yet established. I spent the first couple of weeks spending half of my lunch break in recess duty with the first graders, reminding kids that you go down the slide, not up, okay? Paul, the director of Project Change, put an end to that pretty quickly. But for the next few months, I was spending the first 2 hours of my day helping out in a kindergarten class. Probably more than half of the kids couldn't speak English fluently. I knew about as much about what I was doing as the kids did. Sorry. Because working with these kids made me want to scream. For God's sakes, all you have to do to draw a number one is draw a single line. It is not that freaking hard. I felt alienated. Is this what my AmeriCorps year is going to be? I thought to myself. Picking up garbage after kids and telling them to play nicely? Luckily, with the help of Paul and Ms. Lewis, aka Tiffany, my supervisor, I carved out a role for myself. So thank you, Paul, and thank you, Tiffany. I traveled between 8th, 4th, and 5th grade classes, where for the most part, I would help the higher performing students with writing. I even convinced the school to let me start, with the help of a teacher named Gail Melson, a comics club in which I guide 4th and 5th graders through the creation of their own comics. The club was featured in an article in the Gazette. I felt accomplished. But later I had a breakthrough. On Thursday, June 4th, I got a letter from a student in Ms. Lewis's class named Rosalind, a 5th grader with a gray streak in her hair that I told her made her look like the superheroine Rogue from the X-Men. You guys know Rogue? You know, she absorbs the powers of other superheroes. Yeah. I got to know Rosalind pretty well in one of the groups of higher performing students throughout 4th and 5th grade. She was also a member of the Comics Club, where at just 11 years old, she was already developing a unique style and voice that was all her own, with comics that always featured anthropomorphic donuts, cupcakes, and other delicious characters. So just imagine like a donut with eyes on the top and like lips on the bottom and little arms and legs. Anyway, the cover of the letter, a folded piece of yellow construction paper, was actually in the form of a comic. In the comic, Ms. Lewis's class presents me with a surprise thank you cake, only to find out that Rosalind had already eaten a piece of the cake. The next page displayed a typical scene from Ms. Lewis's class. Me in a chair, reading students' work, while I'm flanked by the other kids in the group in a circle on the carpet, waiting and writing. The third page said this: Dear Mr. Silber, Thank you for everything you have done. You the best. Sorry if we are rude sometimes. Smiley face. I miss Comics Club. You helped me get better at writing. Thank you. Your friend, Rosalind. P.S. The cake was good. Not real. We do not have cake. Maybe. I don't know. The back of the card had a big thank you with a picture of a bunny's head, reading, BTW, I love bunnies. That card made me realize something. I've been telling the same story for years. That's not to say it's a bad story, and it's a story I'll probably keep telling until I get it right. Alienation is a running theme in my life, after all, and it's the theme of a lot of great stories. But the real story of my year with AmeriCorps is not ultimately a story of alienation. It's a story of how I made a difference in a child's life. Thank you.